What's going on, guys? Casual here, and today I want to be going over my blood mage spark build for 0.5. We'll load into a random, let's just do this one, random 8 mob map, using irradiated and overseer. This is just my normal setup, but this build can do anything and everything, and doesn't struggle in the slightest. So some cool things about the build is that this build has been around forever, so there's many different ways you can build this build. I've actually restarted this build this time, which is a first for me, and it went pretty smoothly. This build has like many various iterations of it. You can go the traditional route like I did, where we spec into out of Louis bloodletting and stack max life. Or you could do mana stacking versions, cast on crit versions. They all work. I'm just doing only spark for now. But there's a lot of different things you can do with this build. I am not the original creator of the build because this build has been around forever, so I'm not gonna say that I am. Where I have it now is like serious endgame version. The only upgrade that I would really need is a Calandra's Touch and a Headhunter or Mage Blood. I don't know which one would be better. Probably Headhunter. But depending on the Mage Blood rolls, Mage Blood could free up a lot of stuff on our passive tree. A lot of like crit nodes and stuff like that. But don't know yet. But eventually we'll update the build and see what we can do with either of those. Obviously, Headhunter with the rare buffs that it gives every time you kill an enemy, or a rare enemy rather, is really strong in maps, but I still have this feeling that Mage Blood would be pretty insane. For now, I'm not going to post a complete version because I would need to find footage of me going through the campaign, so this is just an in-game showcase for now. So some of the main concerns about playing Blood Mage or Spark in general was the leech nerfs that were introduced in 0.5 and the ascendancy changes that Blood Mage had. But with all that happening, gear is fairly cheap until you get into the stage of where I'm at, which is really deep into the end game. if you're playing the league for the first time and you would want to try a stable build that's been around forever and can branch out into different variations, I think bloodmage Spark would be the way to go. Because going through the campaign and doing two variations of the build, including this one, I did cast on crit, and that was pretty stable. And then I switched to just Spark, which I've had more fun playing. Which is kind of funny because I did cast on crit Spark in 0.0, but having more fun with it now than I was before. There are no weaknesses to the build, even map modifiers that have reduced regeneration rate of life, energy, and all that stuff. It still doesn't affect us. I don't know if this map has it. It doesn't, from the looks of it. Yeah, but even those map modifiers don't affect us. The only thing that would affect us is burning ground, because it completely stops regeneration rate. But we have our immunity from burning ground from there. So even that doesn't affect us too much. As you can see there, we straight just tank through poison and getting shocked at the same time. So yeah, it's pretty really stable, especially when you get into the later parts. The only thing I would suggest is not upgrading too early, because that's what I did transitioning to the last life stacking version that I'm on. I did transition way too early, but we managed to come back from it. You can also do flame ball, and one of the new ward abilities called Refutation. This will give us significant damage reduction because we will block every hit from all sides and parry. I'll show you why that's really broken in a second. Getting into the nitty gritty of the build. First, let's just start off with our skill gems. Obviously, since we are blood mage, we have life remnants. This is really important for survival. So having remnant potency 3, which is really nice for us. Harmonic remnants 2, also really nice for us. And we also have Katal's rejuvenation, which reduces our cooldown. So our cooldown recovery rate gets reduced significantly because we have that slotted in. I just have Spell Slinger on. I don't use it. Parry, we have parry because we're using Nocturne, and what Nocturne does is when we parry, they take more spell damage instead of more attack damage. And you might be wondering how we are parrying, and that is because of Refutation. So whenever we take hits when the skill is active, we will block all blockable hits and apply parry to the enemy that attacked us. So, that being said, will instantly parry, which will trigger Xerafy's Infamy and Nocturne, so they'll take 100% more spell damage, and will parry, which triggers our Invigorating Grandeur. So we will recover 1% of our maximum life per glory consumed. So I have Flame Wall on here. You don't have to use Flame Wall. I did only use it for bossing, especially if bosses have high fire resistance, and that's because I have Rocky Out as Flow. And anyways, going into our Spark is level 32. It can go quite a bit higher, except that costs a lot of divines that I don't have. So with our Spark, we have Pierce 3, Rocky Out as Flow, of course, and we have one of the new lineage support gems called Trickster Shard. And what this does is creates a mimic every time we cast something like that, and when we have 4 of them, they all cast. So it essentially doubles our cast speed. So instead of casting 4 times, it technically casts 8 times. The spells casted by the fragments will do 50% less damage, but obviously we have 3 of them that cast, so gonna be doing quite a bit of damage. We also have Valenta's Propulsion because we have a lot of cast speed, so our projectile speed modifier is quite high. If we take this off, we'll only have 53, so quite a bit higher. You can also use Projectile Acceleration 3, which will give 40% damage increase, along with projectile speed, but I don't use it. And last but not least, we have Adelui's Bloodletting. This is the main bread and butter of our Spark build because we are not using Blood Magic. I have spec'd out a Blood Magic, we're not using it. So Adelui's Bloodletting is doing most of the heavy work because if we take this off, we're not going to be able to do that much damage. So we have Efficiency 2 on our Refutation, we have Rapid Casting 2, we have Prolonged Duration 2, so this stays for I think 4 seconds. And we have Cooldown Recovery 2, so we have more cooldown reduction. So going on to our weapons and gear. First off, we have, I think, the biggest heavy hitter of the entire gear setup that I have, our wand, which is pretty insane. There is a crafting video on this wand. I did not post it, but I'll leave it in the link in the description. So if you cannot afford a wand like this, you can craft it. The craft is going to be a little expensive. I don't know how much the craft costs right now, but it did cost me around like 40 divines to craft this. So what we have is a +7. So we have +1 all skills here, +1 all skills there, and 5 lightning skills. So we have a +7 wand. We also got critical hit chance for spells, which is really nice. We have increased cast speed and elemental damage as extra for all 3 elemental types. This, I would think, is probably the best in slot wand, unless I get something else for the build. Then probably the critical hit chance for spells will be taken off for critical hit damage. But for now, I think this is the best in slot for me. Going over our gear now. We have the Veil of Night, which gives us 50% increased max life and no elemental resistances. So we don't really have to worry about our elemental resistances for the build. So our gear is quite a lot cheaper because all we are really going for is max life. So I got a good corrupt, so we have a double socket. I don't know how much it costs. It's probably cheap. But for our double sockets, I put in Idol of Ishta, which gives us increased cost efficiency, so our spark is not completely insane in our life costs. And we have damage taken as recouped as life. That just serves as a nice little barrier for our life regeneration. Next up, Colm's Heart. Who would have guessed? This one, really good corrupt because we have 1800 max life. Obviously, we have our two sockets, one of them being the Soul Core of Jikwani, however you say it, with 3% increased max life. And I put in the Warding Rune of the Heart, so we have more ward. So ward is really good. I try to get ward on all of our gear for the purpose of ward, good damage reduction. That is the main reason. So, also it uses up our ward and our refutation. Anyway, yeah, so that's why we have this socketed in. For our gloves, this was a crazy craft. It probably cost a lot, but the only nodes you really need in this is max life and critical damage bonus. Everything else does not matter. Also should point out, I'm going just straight life stacking. I don't have good amount of ES. I don't have a good amount of armor, but you can armor stack and you can ES stack if you want to. It's just going to cost a lot more. So, these increase effect of socketed augment skills, you don't need it. I just have it, which helps out our Tech Rod's Gaze. Tech Rod's Gaze is pretty expensive, but we do need it because otherwise our spark is going to cost a lot and we're just going to die from ourselves. Next up is our belt, and for our belt, I have no idea what I'm doing, so I just decided to use Darkness Enthroned, which is pretty cheap, considering it's a low roll. I can just slam it with a div and try to get close to 100%, but I don't know, I just haven't. So, with our Darkness Enthroned, I put in the Rune of Spinning, which gives us cast speed. The more cast speed we have, the better. And I put in a Perfect Body Rune because more max life, more damage, and more survivability. Obviously, Headhunter and Mageblade are going to be better. Some rare belts could be better than this. I just use this because I'm too lazy to try to find or craft a belt that is better than this. For our boots, our boots are pretty funny. All that matters for our boots is our max life. I got life generation per second on here as well, but life gen per second does, I don't even feel it. So yeah, T1 max life is all that matters. Obviously getting T1 movement speed is probably going to be pretty good too, so these boots will probably be fairly cheap, unless you get like a high ES amount, but yeah. Obviously we're using Wrathpith. Wrathpith is going pretty crazy for our damage. We want as high of a life cost efficiency corrupt as we can possibly get. We don't want to get rid of any of the other nodes though. Like, we want the max life, we want the 3 Wrathpit nodes as well. Obviously mine is pretty crazy as well because I also got it to have the double socket. So I put in 2 perfect body runes there. That's probably So 3 perfect body runes. That's pretty good. Actually 4, because I have one here too. On our weapon slot 2, we have Nocturne, and that is just for our refutation and nothing else. So any version of Nocturne is fine. Nothing else matters other than the paired enemies take more spell damage. For our jewelry, our amulet is okay, I guess. It does have T2% increased max life. T1 would obviously be better. We have T1 levels to all spell skills. This is really good for us. And we have T2 life regeneration per second. This node is not needed. Again, I do not feel life regen. So getting all spell skills and percent max life is the most important. So this ring is extremely expensive. It is the Vitalic ring, which gives us the percent increase max life implicit. We managed to get increased spell damage and increased cast speed on it, and our good friend Ashen Wow just exalt slammed max life into it, which was pretty funny. And our desecration gave us strength and int, which we need for our breakpoints. So yeah, rings like this are like probably around like 30-40 divine. So this and like probably a Calandra's Touch, unless you can get another ring that's like this, is probably best in slot. Obviously we're saving up for Calandra's Touch, but we don't have it yet. For our other ring, because we don't have it yet, is just max life, increased lightning damage, and increased fire damage and cast speed. This ring, it shouldn't cost you a lot, but if it does, all that matters is max life and cast speed. Nothing else matters. So speaking of breakpoints for the build, the only breakpoint that we need is over 5,000 life. Once we have 5,000 life and maybe around like 200 ward, because I am using ward, you should practically be immortal, except for like general one-shot boss mechanics. We do not need Levanges. I just have it on because I got it. That's the only reason why I have it on. Other than that, you don't need it. I also have a freeze immunity charm and a fire immunity charm. These two you will need because freezing obviously is really bad, especially being a leech build, and ignite is also really bad because we are a leech build. But that is it for our gear. So let's go over the passive tree. For our ascendancy, obviously we are bloodmage, and I have decided to go 20% of spell damage leeches life. This got buffed to in 0.5, so it's better now. Before it was 10%, now it's 20. I decided to go for the crit side of the thing, but you don't need gore spikes, so you can go sanguine tides if you want. I have not tried it, but if you wanted to, you can't do sanguine tides. Sunder of the Flesh is definitely needed because we are crit stacking, so having base 15% chance to crit for our spells is very good. And we have Grasping Wounds, so our life loss is now costed over 4 seconds for 25% of it. So going into our passive tree, we'd spec into as much elemental damage and skill effect and projectile damage as we can possibly get. So starting off with the normal stuff, we went raw destruction into critical overload, opponent incantation for the 30% increased spell damage, followed up with one of the new nodes, Lightning Storm, which gives a 6% increased lightning damage as extra cold damage. This is a big boost to our overall damage. Sudden escalation moved from where Lightning Storm was to this side, so this is not new. But we spec'd in a sudden escalation as well as all the crit nodes around it. Going up and around. Pure power, of course, because we are Spark, so 10% increase maximum lightning damage is pretty insane. We went into preservation, which gives us more skill effect duration, so our Spark lasts for, I think, around 3 seconds. Yeah, just around 3 seconds. We also went into turn the clock forward, so we have more projectile speed, and we have a 20% increased spell damage. We went controlling magic with pure critical damage bonus because we are quick capped, so I don't need any more critical chance. Moving forward, I'll get into jewels in a second, but Careful Assassin, more crit. Throat Seeker, even more crit. Heart Stopping and Heart Breaking because more crit. Chakra of Life, because more max life equals more damage. Wild Storm because we gain extra cold damage and extra lightning damage, which is a big boost to our damage. We went all of the nodes. I don't think you need all of them. This is up to personal preference, but I did. Deadly Force, so we have 15% increased damage every time after we crit, so we have permanent 15% extra damage. Jugular, for the crit damage bonus. Two Strike for the crit chance bonus, and we went up and grabbed some more crit strike damage bonus. Moving on to the left side of the tree, this is all just flutter, it's nothing. I'm on my way to get all natural, I don't have it yet, so this is, if you have, let's see, level 95, you'll be able to grab that. I don't yet. But I have Storm Charge because increased cast speed is very, very good. And over here, when I head and grab Desensitization for even more crit. I don't know if I'll keep any of these nodes. They might change later on for more or different nodes for like Sacrificial Blood or some other crit nodes that you can get. But I have that for now. And that is essentially the entire skill tree. So, for our skill gems, or jewels rather, we have 3 Grand Spectrum rupees. So that is 6% increased max life. I might take this out once I get Kalandra's Touch and replace these with just Crit Strike jewels, but we'll see when that happens. Prism of Belief with level 6 Spark skills. I only have a +1 because anything above +1 is way too much money. So I only have a +1 for now. And for our last, we have a From Nothing that specs into Unwavering Stance, which is down here. So from here, we can grab any of these nodes. I went ahead and grabbed Invigorating Grandeur and Hail Heart for increased life recovery rate, and that's it. But anyways, that is it for the build. I don't think I've missed anything. Any updates to the build? Of course, I'll post a video. Mobalytics and POB will be in the description, as well as the link to my stream. So if you have any questions, twitch.tv/itscasual. I'll have that link down in the description below as well. As well as the video to craft the wand if you decide to craft it. Other than that, it's been Casual, guys, and I'll catch you laters.